Welcome guys to another episode of Boom Arena, and today I'm gonna be teaching you how to use the Boom API to even further improve your deck and your deck pool. So first of all, I'm gonna be talking about how to get to your profile, and uh, every profile in Boom Arena has an specific ID that can be found out by entering the settings in the game, and this is the cogwheel that is placed in a main screen at the top right. So if you don't know your ID by heart, you usually can just search it here. You can also find your profile by other means. You can find yourself at leaderboards. If you're the member of top 50 gang, you can obviously find your profile here, but other ways is the player search, and you can search yourself by typing your name. So for instance, I'm gonna be searching myself by typing my name, and I'm gonna actually search myself. Another way is player, and this way you can search yourself by ID, and this time it's gonna be absolutely exact match. So my ID is 33,927, and this way I'm gonna go straight into my profile. So for this season I didn't play too much games yet, and I can obviously see my basic statistics, my recent games, and my decks, and we're gonna be focusing on this one since we are interested on improving our deck pool. So you see some decks that I've played, and this means you can also see the decks of the players that may have played them as well. So we're gonna jump to the leaderboards again. Let's say I'm gonna try to check some decks of Stern. Okay, he didn't play the game in this season, so I'm gonna be checking the decks of Boom Arena Fanboy, and he's gonna be having way more games than I do, and he has some interesting decks. So I was searching for a Brood deck with a Mother Skeleton, and it looks like he didn't play that. He had some decks with Brood and Mother Devil, which I can be interested in. So for instance, he has this deck, which he has obviously 100% win rate with, and this deck is also having Brood, Mother, this time Devil, Longsword, but this time he's gonna be also having Digger, and Digger is very key card in this deck because he also has some Devils, and these cards are very good when they're tanked, and that's why you have to have like tank for them at all times. So he's gonna be playing Brood obviously, but if he's not gonna be able to tank them with the Brood, he's gonna be having also a secondary tank, which is Digger, to tank for them if he wants to, for instance, push from the two lanes at the same time. So it's a very interesting deck. You may copy it and try it for yourself. I'm just saying it is the one way to finding a good deck, just by searching profiles of people, and that's how you can just stumble upon the deck that you might like or not. Another way to find the good decks is gonna be via the deck search engine, and deck search engine can pretty much search any deck for you that serves certain criteria. So let's say we want to play a Brood, here it is, Brood deck, and Mother Skeleton. So there's the Mother Devil. We're gonna search for the Mother Skeleton, and there it is. And you search query, and right now we're gonna get 12 decks. So there's the, I don't recall how these decks are sorted, but we've got some searches, and right now we can see how these decks score. So there are some couple of decks which have a rating, usage rate, and win rate. And what these numbers mean is that rating is the factor of usage rate and win rate. So we're gonna talk about this later. Obviously, usage rate is how many players have used this deck, and usually if it's around 1%, it's gonna mean that it's a meta deck and it's widely used. as you can see, this arcade type probably isn't that popular, so two most used decks of these gonna be, it looks like some digger helicopter deck, and then some spam deck with drunker longsword and even piercing archer. So also there's our deck which we've played, and another thing is that we are searching this season, and this season lasted very shortly, so we're gonna just search it from the previous season. So it looks like the most popular deck from the, okay, I'd love to sort it by use rate, but okay, it's actually sorted by use rate. Okay, so these decks will be sorted by usage, and the most used deck in the previous season was this Brute Mother Skeleton Cemetery deck. So this time the way of getting to the tower wasn't by overwhelming your opponent, but with constant playing, constant baiting spells actually on your various cards, because if you use spell on Skeleton Horde, you will probably not be ready for Mother Skeleton, and if you are somehow ready for Mother Skeleton, Cemetery will knock you out. So that was the idea by this deck, and as you can see, it was the most used deck with Brute and Mother Skeletons. So we can obviously copy that and test it. The second used deck was actually what we have played, so I had some insight how this deck works, but it was using bullets and not blitz. So like I've said, you can run two variations. In this particular case, it was running bullets, probably because blitz like serves the role of being very tricky, and bullets are more solid. So if you are going against some opponent once or twice, you want to probably play blitz because you may catch him off guard, and if you don't, well, it sucked for you, but you'll probably play another deck anyway. But if you're playing over and over on ladder, you probably want to play some more solid option, and that's why I've played blitz. So that's gonna be another thing. And the last thing I'm gonna show you is that you can actually, I mean, you have many categories from you can search this deck from, and I've chosen the previous season ladder. Right now I'm gonna change it to previous season top ladder, and that's gonna mean that these decks were just used by the best players at the game, and yeah, these are gonna be the decks that were used. So as you can see, it's gonna be actually this deck that we've used in the previous video that came out on top with a Brute and Mother Devil. So if we are looking only by the decks played by the best players, it had the most success. And yeah, we can obviously try any of these decks because they were played by good players, so they will probably know what they're doing. So there's, for instance, this deck that looks very funny to me. It's like Brute, Mother Devil and Mother Skeleton together, and it has the mana pump, so you basically want to just force your opponent to defend these pushes. And it was, I'm gonna actually find, okay, there's the total players, but it doesn't show us who played this deck. So that's interesting thing. You usually can see who played these decks, but it doesn't show us in this particular case. So I'm gonna actually search another previous season, and I'm gonna copy, okay, that's the 9 usage. Yeah, I think you get the idea how to navigate it right now. Obviously, from this season there's not a lot of info, so I recommend for now to use the previous season info, so like previous season ladder, like you've seen here. This deck was used 110 times, and I think I'm gonna actually copy this deck and show it into in the action in a moment. Okay, so I roughly copied the deck from the Boom API, which you have seen, and I'm gonna test this deck actually if that's really good. Obviously, some decks may be really good but may not suit your playstyle. Like I've said, this deck is more of a bait deck than a beatdown, so I'm gonna be playing very I'm gonna try to provocate my opponents to waste their spells, and if they're gonna be drained, I'm gonna just go for some assault. So without further ado, let's jump to the game, and we're gonna be going up against very interesting zero medal player that decided to well, I'm gonna leave it just without a comment. So he's gonna start with Dark Knight and we're gonna respond with the Mother Skeleton. Obviously our Mother Skeleton will lose this skirmish, so we're gonna support it in some way or another in the future. We're gonna be playing a long sword for this Dark Knight to take care of it. And with that being said, we're gonna be having a... will we? Yeah, he's gonna be playing Madness, so that was a very smart play out of him to kill our Mother Skeleton. Obviously, we usually want to keep it alive, but he did a very well job of defeating it. Also, this Bomber Girl can be taken out at any moment, but I've just decided to let it be. It was probably a mistake, since if I were to kill it, I think the push could have just survived. So I'm gonna just salve it, and we have come to a reset. I think he is actually winning at this point, and he's up 4 mana. He plays a Dark Knight in the back, and I'm gonna repeat the same thing. I'm gonna be playing Mother Skeleton in the back, and this time I'm gonna actually account for him that he has Madness, so he cannot trick me the same way again. So he's gonna be playing a Balloon, which I'm gonna promptly counter, and this time I'm gonna be putting the Brute in front of the Mother Devil, Mother Skeleton, so it can survive for quite longer, and it does. So he's gonna be playing a Skeleton Horde. He's not wasting any spell, and my guess is that he doesn't have any spell, so I'm gonna just be playing a Cemetery, just spawning skeletons from both sides, and he will have to eventually choose which side he wants to defend, and he plays Fawn King, which is very interesting response against a solely Swarm play, but I'm not gonna complain about that. I'm gonna just play a Mother Skeleton against Balloon. I don't think it's gonna fully counter it, so I'm gonna add a Bullets to not get a hit, and we're gonna be able to settle a very solid spot already. He's gonna be playing Dark Knight on this because, yeah, he's gonna try to take care of Mother Skeleton, and that was a huge mistake out of him because he didn't take care of it. He's gonna play a Skeleton Horde, and this Skeleton Horde was actually very good out of him. And right now we are gonna be having to take care of this Dark Knight. I'm gonna try to take care of it like this. I'm gonna try to stop this balloon from connecting, and I think with that being said, we have already concluded the game. I'm gonna play a Brute to protect the bridge, and since we have stalled the game, we're gonna be absolutely taking it home, and that's how this deck works. Unfortunately, this dude didn't give us the luxury of fulfilling the purpose of our deck, but he didn't have the many cards to counter our Swarm, so we probably should take the advantage of that way earlier. Let's jump to the next game and try to get a good matchup this time. And we're gonna be up against Tommy41 with 5 medals. Let's hope that he has a good deck for us to show our game plan. We're gonna throw a nice play, and we're gonna throw a Mother Skeleton against these apes, since we're gonna take the damage anyway, but our game plan is sack and attack, so we're gonna sack some damage and attack with Brute and Mother Devil. So right now he will have to come up with some defense if he wants to survive that, and if he does not, he's gonna absolutely die to the first push. So unfortunately for us, we're gonna be able to get a very good push at the beginning, and since he used his Rolling Steel, we're gonna just play Skeleton Horde at the bridge and win the game instantly. So that's what I told you at the beginning, that this deck is very baity one, so if your opponent makes a mistake early, it can cost him a game, and that was the case here this time. And that's gonna be it for you guys today. We have played some, I wouldn't say improved, but we have some new deck that we have searched in boomapi. Obviously you can search for many other decks as well, not only these ones. I've just thought that following this trend of Brute Mother Skeleton would be very interesting, and that's how you pretty much get yourselves into making a new deck. Like I've taught you already in the episode 1, the basic structure of the deck. The episode 2 is dedicated to improving your deck towards its strengths, and the episode 3 is dedicated to searching your perfect deck from other players, because they may have already come up with the idea that you're searching for, and it may suit your playstyle. Like I've said, it's for instance not my playstyle to play like that. Obviously, if you're playing Beatty style, I think the poison doesn't suit my playstyle, but maybe these players that invented this deck absolutely needed it to survive some pushes. So that's gonna be it for me in today's video. Let me know if you enjoyed it, and if you did, leave that like button, it helps the algorithm a little. And if you don't want to miss my future uploads, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. And without further ado, thanks for watching, and I'm gonna see you in the next episode of Boom Arena.